Everybody, how's it going? Welcome to Know Your Gear QA number 162. That's right, 162 episodes. And we're ready for the next episode. I hope you all had a great week. It's been an interesting week as always in the new climate. Hey, we find joy where we can, work where we can, do what we can. So, before we get started, a couple things to announce. If you're first time watching this on YouTube, there is a question index in the subject line or subject section of the video. You can click to any question or topic we talked about. You don't have to watch the whole thing if you don't like to. You can also stream this or download this as a podcast on iTunes or, wherever else you get a podcast from, and Spotify, you name it. And what else? Oh, and if you're going to hear watching live and you have a question, please start the question with the question mark first. That way I know you're talking to me. Even if you have a subject that you want to talk about, you can put a question mark first. It lets me know that you're talking to me and not to each other. That helps me a lot. And also, if you're new, you're going to also notice I talk fast and drink a lot of water. There's water in my coffee cup. This is my Know Your Gear coffee mug. Which I just discovered, right? I would say, this is the out of print vintage logo. Look at that. So those of you that know what that is, some of you longtime viewers, listeners will know what that means. This is the logo that looks like the logo we have now, but it's different and it's never coming back. I did not know I had that coffee cup this entire. I don't remember buying myself one of the original ones, so I'm glad I did. All right. What else do we got? Let's start with stuff. First thing I want to talk about is last week we ended the show with a super chat that I did not get to. So a very dead horse. I wanted to grab his super chat or hers. You know, a dead horse could be a female or a male. I don't want to be gender specific on a dead horse. Anyways, a very dead horse says, bought a Music Man Silhouette 24 fret with tremolo. How are they? Do they hold value? Do you like them? They hold value better than I would like them to because I really like Music Man guitars. Behind me, right there, for those of you watching, I'm pointing at it. For the podcast people, I'm pointing at a John Petrucci Music Man guitar that has upgraded DiMarzio Zio pickups. It's funny on the DiMarzio. 5 things you don't know about the DiMarzio. I'm doing it again, but I'll explain it in a second. DiMarzio video. A couple of people said, "Hey, you're saying DiMarzio like SH sound, not Zio." And what's funny was I went around and started asking my friends and family members. I go, "Hey, say DiMarzio," and I said it with a Z. I go, "Say DiMarzio," and they said DiMarzio. So it's how us dumbasses from Arizona say DiMarzio. I guess most of us. Anyways, the important part is I talked on the phone to Larry DiMarzio for 5 hours. He never corrected me once, so he's a cool guy for not correcting me. So, anyways, DiMarzio. It has upgraded DiMarzio pickups. We should put the Z in there. Funny thing that's not in the 5 things you don't know about DiMarzio video is that the name DiMarzio with a capital M is trademarked. There you go. I didn't put that in the video. I left it out, but I thought it was a fun tidbit to tell you guys later. So, sorry about that. So back to their question. I have a Petrucci here. It's used. I love it. I love Music Man guitars. I would love to own more Music Man guitars. But their resale value is pretty good, and they're hard to come across used. You see a few here and there. So, I will get another Music Man guitar. It's a guitar that I've been thinking about. There's a couple that I want. I want the Access pretty bad, because the fact that one of my favorite bands, Bowling for Soup, they play like the Access guitar. I'm not even sure if that's the one they're playing. It just looks like it, so I think it's the one. Could be anything. Could be the Wolfgang style one. I know they're the same. I don't want to get into it right now, but you get the idea. Sometimes when you have to go through the history of these guitars with these companies, it gets a little crazy. But what I was going to say was, yeah, I like them. So if your question is, what do I think? I like them. I think they do hold value. I think that in current climate and going forward, I think guitars made in the USA are, I wouldn't say good investments, but I'm gonna say they're not bad investments. You know, there are less guitars made in the USA today than there was 10 years ago, and there was less made 10 years ago than there was 20 years ago or 10 years before that. So, using that kind of logic, there's going to be less American made guitars. So, people are going to collect them. Why? Well, because the same reason we collect Japanese made guitars that are now made in Korea. And some of you guys right now are, it's not about better. It can be, but it's not about in this particular case. It's about the value is always attached to a finite resource. The less of something there is available, the likelihood that it's going to have more value. Not guaranteed, but likely. So, for instance, if you want a type of guitar that they don't make that way anymore, it might have value. So there you go. All right. I saw Justin's super chat, but hold off. I want to grab. I saw another comment for a second. Just got to figure out which screen I want to pay attention to. Hold on. Maybe I thought I saw a question and I didn't. Oh, James Westervelt says double question mark. Not that that matters. Just thought I'd point it out. Phil, why don't you have a Jazzmaster? I do have a Jazzmaster. I even have a Jazzmaster video. It's a black Jazzmaster. No, mine's sunburst now. I should get it out. I have a made in Mexico Jazzmaster in sunburst that I absolutely love. So, I want a Doheny from G&L. That's where I would like this to go. I would like to go from the Jazzmaster to the Doheny. There are some changes coming. I'm letting go a few guitars. I'm getting some new guitars. Doheny. I have a couple guitars that I just curious about, like to check them out, and waiting for the deals. And when I find them, acquire something that's interesting and try something new. It's always nice to try something new. I've come across so many guitars just by working on them or selling them or having this YouTube channel. And sometimes there's just certain guitars you just don't get your hands on. And you're just really curious about. I really want to try the Doheny. But yeah, Jazzmaster. I love Jazzmasters. I love Jazzmaster pickups. And I specifically like the more P90-esque styled made in Mexico Jazzmaster pickups that aren't quite Jazzmaster pickups. So there you go. All right. It gets a little tricky when you're asking me about guitars because sometimes I don't keep them anymore. I don't carry them with me anymore. I let them go. But I can't display all the guitars. That's why I made this new room. This is the new display. This was based on your guys' feedback. I used to have the room set up to show you a few guitars, a few amps, and a few pedals. And to be honest with you, it just seemed so ostentatious. Is that what I want to say? It just seems braggy. I didn't dig it. And you know what it was? A couple of people put comments, not rude comments by any means, just nice comments that just felt sad. Like, they just, I don't know how to say it. They were just like, yeah, I'm not digging it. They're like, I wish I had some nice guitars and stuff like that. And you're like, yeah, I don't need to put this out there. But then I realized this is a gear channel. This over time took me about a year or two. And I decided, you guys really send me a lot of emails asking about certain guitars. And I thought, what if I just put them all behind me? So I believe what you're looking at right now, if you could do the math, somebody could count it for me. I think there's 22 guitars in frame. This room currently has 20, why can't I do the math? 24, 27 guitars in here. So you're seeing, 90% of them. There you go. And then I've said this before, but maybe it's worth mentioning. I have way less guitars now than I did when I started my YouTube channel. But keep in mind, when I started my YouTube channel, I had a store, and I'm not including the guitars in my store because, that was a lot of guitars. But just, in my collection, it was out of control. Yeah, Dale says he likes the background, seeing nice all the guitars behind you. You know what it is? I just really, plus the other thing happened to me was a lot of times people would really focus their questions into things that I'm not really, I like talking about, but I'm not versed in. So I'm not heavily versed in pedals. I'm not heavily versed in certain amplifier stuff. I'm really a guitar tech, guitar reseller, a guitar collector, you know what I mean? Basses and guitars. All the basses in the other room. So John wants to know 3 guitars I will never get rid of. That is easy. It's my PRS Mira, the main brown one that I haven't had out in a while, but it's in the other room. And my copper Strat, which is, if I move a certain way, you can see behind me. Those on the podcast can't see it, but I'm pointing at a copper Strat, and the Somnium guitar. That's if I can only keep 3. If I could keep 5, you didn't ask that, but I thought maybe we'll add that too. It would be then the G&L behind me on here, the Margarita green one right there, and there's a blue Telecaster. It's green, it's blue. It's a seafoam green. I don't think it's surf green. I think it's seafoam green. I have to remember. So that would be the 3. I'm a Fender guy. I think I've been a Fender guy for always. But see how easy it was for me to pick 3? Here's why. 2 things. 2 things that you might find interesting. All these guitars, I have 2 guitars I play all the time. Both guitars have been refretted. I had to refret both guitars. So imagine, I've only had to refret 2 of my personal guitars in my entire life. And it's my Mira, first Mira, and my PRS, not my PRS, my Fender Custom Shop. Both I had to refret them because I wore the frets out. That's how much I play those 2 over all these. I enjoy these guitars. I do. I like picking them up, playing them, trying different things, different tunings. But I really am a creature of habit. I really just, for some reason, bonded with those 2 guitars. And it's been that way since the very first, think of this, the very first videos I ever did on YouTube are those 2 guitars, and it's been that way ever since. And that's why I like collecting, because I've kind of already found out who I am as a guitar player. I found out what I like. You know what I mean? Those guitars speak to me. I play them. I enjoy them. And then everything else is just about, kind of like experimenting and seeing. And you never know, I might change one day. And sometimes I do go long periods of time without playing those 2 and playing new stuff. And I think it's not about me, it's about all of us. And I think what's happened is I think a lot of you right now are identifying with that it's, you find a place that you call home, a guitar, and then, you want to try other things because you will get into a rut. I will find this though. I do find this about those 2 guitars. One of the reasons I like going back to them is not only do they feel comfortable to me, I play better when I play them. I play really differently. I play more in the pocket of what you know what I mean? I'm not really struggling to figure out things. One thing that sucks about being a mid-level, mediocre kind of player, that average type player, is that a lot of the pro players, man, when you hand them all these 20 different types of guitars, they can do it. Their worst day is still really impressive. Me, one of the tricks is, man, you give me guitars that are so far in my comfort zone sometimes, I just can't play on par with what I normally play like. Sometimes I see this a lot in the video. Somebody will go, oh, you've been practicing a lot, or this sounds better than the last time, or you're just different. And if you're paying attention, it's really, I'm playing the guitars that I'm most comfortable with. It's like my playing style. The notes, I'm hitting the note, I'm hitting the spot, I'm doing it, I'm nailing it, I'm there. And then when I'm playing some other different kind of vibe guitar, I can only give you my best, my best worst. All right, I've been ignoring the super chats. Let me stop doing that. Let me get to a couple of these super chats, especially from Justin. Justin says, what did you say, buddy? He says, hey, Phil, I'm the Blues Junior. Thanks for the recommendation. Oh, I'm glad you love it, man. Me and Justin were talking about this. He was thinking about getting a 65 Deluxe or a Blues Junior. We kind of hashed out the pros and cons of both. Obviously, I'm a big fan of both, but the Blues Junior, it's got some things to really be proud of. It's a lot less expensive than the 65 Deluxe. It's got a very impressive clean channel. I told him that he can output that into a 212 speaker cabinet, which he's got. So very cool. I'm glad you got it, and I'm glad you're happy with it. Anthony says, if you just have one amp, something loud, portable for a jam night, takes pedals well, versatile, sounds good at home volumes, what would it be? Your desert island pick, just one. This is a question you get a lot, especially YouTubers, or anybody who has a YouTube channel, because I think it's the question we're all curious about, where that kind of tells you what as a person who they would get. And what I've learned is a little trick for this question, to answer this question. When I mean trick, it's the thing that makes the most sense for me. My first thought is always to go through my amp collection and pick the amp that is the perfect amp for that. But what I realized is, no, really what happens is if you, because you're saying pedals, takes pedals, so I'm assuming I get pedals with this amp. If I only got one amp to do everything with, The Princeton makes me nervous sometimes when it needs to be loud. It's not loud enough. So as much as I love my Princeton, that's not going to be the go-to. It would probably be like a Hot Rod Deluxe, because that's a very comfortable amp and I like it. I'm always happy with it. In fact, when I had my Hot Rod Deluxe, I used to just have a Hot Rod Deluxe. When I say used to, I mean 2000, probably 9. Maybe 9. I'm trying to think back. There's a few years. I mean, obviously, I had the store. I had all these amps in the store. But I mean, I just at home, I had one amp. And it was a Hot Rod Deluxe. And I was always so happy. And then I started messing with amps again. And sometimes when you're happy, you should stop. But anyways, Hot Rod Deluxe, I think I'd be perfectly happy with. I'm looking around just in case. The second would be the 65 Deluxe Reverb. Those two amps I really like. And I know it's funny because you said pedals. If I didn't get pedals, I would get the Supersonic 22 is what I have. And that's what I have it. It's not my favorite amp by any means, but man, it does clean pretty good. It does distortion pretty good. If I don't have pedals, I feel pretty comfortable with that amp. It's light enough to carry. There's a lot of things to like about that amp. Ben's question was, just bought a new Epiphone 1955 Les Paul for $539. Have you played it? I haven't. So in 1955 Les Paul, like reissue from Epiphone, I haven't, that was the one thing I thought that was going to happen this year finally, was I was going to try Epiphones out. I put it as a focus for the year. I think we talked about at the beginning of the year that I said this year I was planning to put at least one Epiphone review in each month, right? Have 12, 10 to 12 Epiphone reviews for the year, talk about the product, and then COVID. So no Epiphone reviews. Not only can I not reach out to Gibson to send any, they sent the one Lizzie Hale, but as you guys know, they got that out. That was really kind of them, really hard for them to do. They barely got it to me in time, and then I had to sit on it for a couple months because they had no way to in-process it back. So, no, I'd like to put my hands on more Epiphones. My goal this year, wait, it's gone now. My goal this year was, so I'm down to 3, but I have 3 Les Pauls. So behind me, you see the gold top, you see the light classic, which is thin. It's a thin body one. And then I have the standard that you've seen in a lot of videos. My goal this year was to sell the standard and buy an Epiphone. Because there's so many things I like about the Epiphones more than the Gibsons and vice versa. I thought, hey, you know what? I never really bonded with that one. It's like 13 pounds. It's heavy. The standard I have. It has a beautiful top. It's a good looking guitar. Sell it. And I thought it'd be a fun video to watch, to watch the logic of what, and see what happens, right? How much did I get for the Gibson Les Paul, and then take a percentage. I was thinking about like sell it for like $1,500 and then try to find a great, Epiphone for $600-700, you know what I mean? New. And, but there's nowhere to go. It's COVID. I might do it online. It's just tough. You know what I mean? The biggest problem right now is like a lot of you right now, a lot of you are in a lot of situations out there, but one of the situations that some of you in since COVID happened is you're working twice as much. I'm in that situation right now. I work way more now. I've worked way more since COVID has started than I've ever worked. Well, not ever in my life, but, I mean, in a while. It's nuts. So, okay, so what else? Oh, I know there's more super chats. Hold on, I'm just kind of poking around to see what subjects you guys are talking about. See if there's interest. Jason says, wouldn't you keep the guitar Ola gave you? Well, I'd keep it because I'm not going to get rid of it. It's right behind me, right there. But if you're asking me which guitars I play, that's the guitars I play. I love the Solar. In fact, it's for the type of guitar it is, it's my favorite guitar. In fact, it's really probably helped me a lot in some situations because I've played some other shredder type guitars that are like that I was like, oh, I need this. I was like excited about it. And then I thought, you know what? I got that Solar. It just kills. It's awesome. So yeah, I'll never get rid of the Solar. So, a lot of these guitars behind me, that's exactly what they are. They're sentimental to some degree. They're a collection of guitars that have, a lot of these are guitar experiences than so much guitars for me. So some of them just have moments in time that are just something special happen or something happened that's just cool. Okay, let me get back. Hold on to the screen. What are we talking about? I'd like to take a moment and tell you guys how much I appreciate you, the community that we have, with everything the climate going on right now. The idea that we can sit here and just talk about guitars is just amazing to me. Like all of you, my week is not always about just talking about guitars. I wish it was, but some other stuff going on. And I'm glad that when we come here, it's like we're talking about the thing we love. It's where we get to vent out and have some fun. And I appreciate that. I hope you guys are enjoying it, because I enjoy that we get to just talk about the thing that we all have in common, that we love. Steven says, hello, Phil. Have you gotten into boutique handmade guitar picks? There are some crazy materials being used, like, I'm going to try and say them, Vespel, Torlin, I don't even know what that one is, UHMWMP, Umpy, and Peak. I'm going to say Peak. And I wonder if that's just extra for the sake of extra. I haven't done a whole lot of that. You know, my guitar, one of my instructors, guitar teachers, Matt, he's got into some of those really exotic picks, and he loves them. And he's let me play one for a moment, and I might have one or two weird, strange, material type picks, but not commonplace picks. I haven't really got into them too much. No particular reason. It just haven't done it. So very interesting, though. Very interesting subject. I do want to say, though, that I really believe that the type of pick can not only change, of course, your playing and the way you play, but it changes the sound of the guitar. To sit there and to just hear sometimes when you hit a string with a pick, especially on acoustic guitars. Sometimes, man, just the tone that you get from a style of material. And the reason I say this is because I've had this problem for many years, where a lot of the picks that I love to hold, the way they feel comfortable, the material balances well with my I say skin type. I have dry hands. So if some of you guys have sweaty hands, I have very dry hands. In fact, my hands are so dry that when I go to the grocery store, I can't open. I think I've said that before. I can't open those plastic bags, like in the produce section. When you do that thing with the plastic bag, I can't. My hands are so dry that they don't. That I just slip across the plastic. So the reason I tell you that is everybody has different makeups of their skin. Some have oily skin, some have dry skin, some have, they sweat, their hands sweat a lot. And so different materials feel different and have pleasing, outcomes with different skin types. And the problem I have is a lot of the picks that work great with my hands, I don't like the way they sound. And that's definitely a preference, is to your ear. So I understand where you're coming from with the exotic picks. I'm always interested by that. I kind of move around. I'm looking at picks now. I kind of move around with picks to see what I like. If you notice, obviously, with the Master 8 picks and the Dava picks, you'll notice the trend for me is to use some kind of rubberized pick. I use these Herco picks. This is another pick I use, and I've been using this pick for a long, long time. Whoops. I don't know if I can get it to focus. This is the Herco pick. Some of you guys that are Eddie Van Halen fans will see it. They make this exact pick with the EVH logo. Eddie Van Halen's picks are these. A little trick, if you don't notice, for some reason, even though they say they're the exact same, they are different. The EVH ones bend a little more than the actual Herco branded pick, even though I think it says it's the same thickness. So I use the Herco branded, not the EVH one. I have the EVH ones. I don't like them as much. And this is very rough. Do that on the microphone. Can you hear that? It's like sandpaper. And then I use those, what are these called? These are the those hand done picks by Dunlop. And the same thing, these picks, same thing, have this rough kind of material. So I like materials that are like sandpaper or rubbery, something that grabs my fingers. Otherwise, they slip right out. So... And then I've tried, I've tried you can add rubber to picks, and you can scratch your picks up with sandpaper. All that stuff works for me. It's fine. You know what I mean? It's just stuff you try. I do still like the Davas, but though I wear the tips off the Davas really fast. So yeah, E.R. Webster says no Dava picks. No, I still use them. It's just what happens is it depends. Sometimes I play so much, I just wear those down so fast. And I reached out, I've tried to find out about that. I'm looking through picks right now. And, instead of like, hey, trying different materials, the Dava guys, they don't seem to acknowledge that that's an issue, even though I've talked to a lot of people and it seems to be a lot of issues. A lot of you guys that bought Dava picks because of my recommendation that love them said the same thing. Some of you guys don't have if you don't have any issues, keep with it. Some of you guys said the same thing as me. You love the way they feel, love them, but you wear the tip off too fast. It goes down. Grumpy Mike says, I've been using V-Picks. V-Picks, I have some V-Picks. I have the Red Rocker is my favorite. I have these are the Gravity Picks, which are like V-Picks. I reached out, Vinny is the guy who owns V-Picks. I reached out to him, actually, back up. He reached out to me and asked me if I was interested in demoing any picks. And I was really curious because I like the Red Rocker pick, but I wanted something a little bit different, like a blue or a green, something a little flashy. And I asked him if he did the Red Rocker in different colors. And he's so funny. He just sent me back an email. He's like, it's called the Red Rocker. I'm like, yeah. So yeah, same thing. These materials are great. I have so many picks. I used to think I had a lot of picks before I started doing YouTube. And you do YouTube videos and reviews and stuff, picks will show up. So a lot of picks show up, and you get to try a lot of different stuff. Ray says, do you still have that Shiji guitar? Shiji, I do. Any plans for some other Chinese guitar reviews? Well, yes and no. I mean, China is, I don't want to say it's shut down, but it's kind of shut down. And what I say by that is like, it's shut down. I actually have a really nice made in China guitar here at the house, and the problem is that the review was supposed to come out May 15th, April 15th, and they asked me to push it back to May 15th, and then I stopped. I haven't heard anything. It's not a Chinese company, but it's a made in China guitar. So obviously a lot of guitars are made in China. So, the reason I'm telling you that is there seems to be a lot of products that I was sent to review or do videos of, and they're made in China, and all of a sudden they're telling me not to show them because I'm sure they can't supply any demand for them, or they were supposed to be sent to me and they didn't show up. So I'm assuming there seems to be issues there. So it seems to be the case. It's part of it, it's part of the thing. It's a different time right now. Think about this. A couple weeks ago, I talked about the fact that I bought a BC Rich guitar, a used one. I bought that from a seller in Canada. It's now been 22 days. Is that correct? I think so. 22 days. And it's still not out of Canada yet. It's moved like one city. So it's moving slow, but it's moving. So yeah, so really, really crazy, right? Crazy times. Crazy times. And so you guys know, everybody has, again, different opinions about where guitars are made. I don't try to tell you guys my opinions about what I think about what guitars are made so much, but I will tell you what I try to do. I try to demo and review all kinds of products. From the glary stuff that's super cheap to, a Nags guitar that's very expensive. The goal I try to do for the channel is to be, in my mind, like a car review channel. Like, here's the new 2021 Honda Civic, and then here's a Lamborghini. You can't afford the Lamborghini, but here's one. And here's a used Chevette, right? You know what I mean? Just kind of give you a spectrum of guitars. I always find it funny how seems to be angry people get. I find that no matter what you do, you're going to upset somebody. It's always interesting in the psychology of it. And the live shows are about talking about more of that part of the guitar experience. So maybe this is a good time to mention this. It's kind of funny to me. I'll do a guitar. It's like a $5,000 guitar. And there's so many people have so much visceral reactions to that. They're angry, just hostile. Oh my God, no guitar is worth $5,000. And they're so mad. And I'm like, okay, well, don't buy one. I'm not going to buy one, but I like talking about them. And then same thing, you do a guitar, it's like $100 guitar, and the negativity then goes to like, oh, that's just junk, and how could you, support junk guitars? And so it's funny to me. I'm like, and I don't know if maybe there's a miscommunication. Let me explain it to you this way, how boring of a channel this would be if it was left up to me to just talk about only what I care about. Essentially, I would talk about Strats all the time and Tellys. It would be the Strat and Telly show. I would say, I'm looking at a Telly right now. That's how silly this is. So, That's where that's where I like to play. So it's funny. Like I try to try to be diverse in the types of guitars and products we talk about. Okay. What else do we got? We have ER. ER Webster says recently got a G&L tribute Doheny. Love feel and sound, but trim arm loosens over time. Added a spring. Tried the plumber's tape. No luck. Suggestions. The trick is I'd have to know what trim is on that, and I do not know. So I'm going to look real quick to see if I can visually see it. You're saying plumber's tape, so I don't know if it's a push and tremolo or if it's going to show me. Obviously, the reason is the G&L bridge. Now, if I recall from what I learned from G&L, is I thought that the bridge on that guitar is an import, but it's an import version of their bridge. And so the $1 million question I have for you, buddy, is looking at it, and I can't find the angle that I want online, and so I can't share with you guys what I'm looking at because I can't see the angle I need. It looks to me like it should have an Allen screw on the back of the trim. Let me see. Come on. View image. I just want to see the back of the tremolo. So I'm trying to see a picture. I'm sorry you guys are bored while I'm talking about this, but this is kind of interesting. I cannot see a close enough picture. No one's got really cool pictures online of the back of the tremolo. It's all front facing. But I'm assuming there's an Allen wrench adjustment on that back of that bridge. So what I would suggest as I click through these pictures to see if I can confirm that for you, buddy, is to look behind it for an Allen screw hole, a screw for the Allen wrench to go into. And I mean, I'm looking at it, and from the side, it looks like it's there. You know what I mean? It looks like something. I just can't get a close-up picture. I can't find a close-up picture on the internet to see. But let me go back to the main page in case you guys are finding it. But what I was gonna say is, I would definitely suggest that you look for that either on the main shaft or where the tremolo goes in, or underneath the bridge. In other words, pull the bridge back so at an angle, and look at the block. There might be an Allen wrench adjustment screw that puts a little pressure on that. So that's what I would try and look for first before I would try what do you call it? Before I would do any of those other mods. So there's that. I'll look into it though. I'll see. Like I said. Okay. Next we have what else? We have Greg K says, "Hey, a guitarist here. I want a bass to learn for tracking. Okay, 30-inch scale, good for guitarists. These okay, Sterling, Stingray, Gretsch. I like shorter, yeah, so he's talking about the Micro by Ibanez, the Tallman, the Bronco, the Mustang by Fender, 30-inch scale. Of course, I like the 30-inch, 32-inch scale basses for guitar. The reason is because I don't think it changes the tone too much. I like to look at a 32-inch from a 34-inch scale bass, no different than a Les Paul to Strat in scale length. It has almost no sound difference at all. It's very minor. 30-inch scale, like I said, does change the sound because you've shortened the scale enough. Usually what I tell people is the sound that I hear, depending on the style of bass, but mostly you hear the G string, the high strings become plumpier and the notes become fatter and nicer when you're playing single notes. And the low E is less boomy, but again, the great thing about a bass is it's a very easy thing to EQ or fix, especially when recording. But what I've kind of expressed to guitar players especially is, if you're not going to spend a crap ton of time trying to learn the bass, go ahead and just get the shorter scale bass, do the recording, and enhance any of the sound of the bass with the EQing. No one will know. No one. It's done all the time. Okay, it's done all the time, and no one knows. And what's great about that is it helps you have more control when you're playing. So there you go. Okay, what else do we got? I'm a big fan of the short scale bass, obviously. That's what I'm trying to say. And you can find them for a good deal. Let's see. Hold on. I'm trying to look for any question marks first. Uh, Mike, I'm going to answer your question just because of the rule of the channel. Mike says, hey, should he buy a cost-friendly Harley Benton Telly? He wants a Telly, but he's poor currently. Yeah, well, whenever you ask if you should buy a guitar, I'm going to say yes. That's the answer on the channel. But no, of course, the Harley Benton affordable Tellys. Like I said, I really like Harley Benton at the lowest price points. I think it always impresses me. When I see Harley Benton's for $150, $200, I'm always impressed by them. Whatever issues I come across are so minor that I'm just like, wow, that's fine. It's when the Harley Benton's get $300, $400 that I'm like, it's not that they're not good. It's just all of a sudden I'm like, I'm less impressed because I'm aware of the fact that if you buy a $300, $400 Harley Benton, you understand you're getting closer and closer to more of a I want to say a lifetime guitar. Now, a Harley Benton is a good quality guitar. You have to understand that when we're talking about guitars, a piece of wood with some metal on it, we're talking about stuff that just isn't really throwaway junk. It's stuff that you keep forever. Okay. I think I told you this story, and if I haven't, I know I told it so long ago that a lot of you guys won't remember it. But I remember this girl came into my store once. She couldn't have been more than 20. I mean, I'm a dad, so girls either look like they're 35 or they look like they're 12. Like, it's just hard, right? So she looked young and she came in the store. This is important to the story, her age. So she comes in the store and she has these two guitars, and one's kind of beaten up and the other one's kind of, just a little old guitar. And she brings the guitars to the counter. And usually when you see these kind of older guitars like this, old beat up guitars, and somebody brings them in and they look a little lost in the music store, you can always tell somebody's first time in a music store, like, what's this place, And she comes up to the counter, she puts the guitars on the counter, and she goes, my grandfather passed away, and I inherited these guitars. And I'm like, okay. And she's like, and I don't play guitar. And she goes, I'm not gonna. And I go, okay. So I'm thinking, okay, she wants to sell these guitars or something. She goes, so I want to give these guitars to you guys so you can give them away to somebody. And I'm like, okay. And she goes, because my grandfather said that guitars never go bad, that you can fix them up. There's no reason to ever throw a guitar away. And she's like, these look beat up. My mom was going to throw them away. This is why the age of the important story. And she said, my mom was going to throw them away. And I told my mom, I go, no, Grandpa said you never throw guitars away, that they're always good. And so I said, okay. So she left them, and I, when I had free time, I fixed them up. And my wife did something with them. I think she usually found students that couldn't upgrade or something like that. Or maybe somebody came in and they had like $100 gift certificate for lessons, but no guitar and stuff. And they wanted to rent a guitar because we rented guitars, and she just let them have something like that. But the point of the story is sometimes when we're talking about Harley Benton's and stuff, I don't want to ever give the impression that the cheaper guitars don't have this lifetime value. You got to understand, there's a cynical part of me of the buying and reselling education part of the guitar player that knows that what guitars churn. In other words, they don't keep. So inexpensive guitars are great, but typically guitar players churn them. That's why we see them sold so many times over. So, and to be honest with you, there's no reason to get rid of a guitar like that. A Harley Benton guitar, you could buy that and be happy for the rest of your life. You don't even have to upgrade it. Sharp Max videos, when I mod them up, you don't need to mod guitars up. Guitars are good the way they are, but it's not about that. It's more, this is an emotional thing. It's not a practical thing. Like I said before, this is all because we enjoy this, like music. Practicality isn't part of it. Maybe that was too far to say it isn't part of it. It's just not the majority of it. Curious to see. I'm always curious what you guys think about stuff like that. Yeah, see, Jason says kind of like cars, but cars get junk. Well, that's the whole point. That's what I'm trying to say. The guitars, very, very few of them wear out. Generally speaking, the guitars that are built inexpensively, that have lower graded parts that don't last as long, don't get played as hard as some professional guitar players will play the more pro level guitars and beat them up. Yeah, Dale says, yeah, see, he's like the story because no guitar should be thrown away. What's funny is when she came in and said it to me, I was just like, I just thought it was great. It was a cool story, right? I just thought, because you know what it was? I pegged the whole thing wrong. I thought she was coming in to sell us a couple guitars, you know what I mean? And I just thought the whole thing was endearing, and I thought it was cool. And it really kind of changed my perception of like, yeah, you know what? This is kind of lifetime product. We buy this for for and to be honest with you, sometimes guitars, and I've said this before. I've said this before about adopting. I know for a fact. I've used the word adopting guitars. I walked in a music store. Some of you guys have experienced this. You ever walk in a music store and there's a guitar there and it's so underpriced for what it is that you can't believe no one's bought it. So then you like adopt it. You buy it because you're like, I have to buy it. It was such a cool guitar for the price. And then you're like, why did I buy this guitar? But my point about using the word adoption for guitars is kind of funny because that's sometimes how I feel about guitars. They're like adopting like animals almost because they don't go bad. You're right. Well, I guess animals, eventually pass away. It's a weird analogy I went for. Let me take all that back and start with this. What I'm trying to say is you buy a guitar, it's going to last forever. I went really weird on that one. So, all right, some of you guys did some super chats. Let me hop over to this side, see what you guys are hitting me with. Let's see. Will says, happy Friday. Are you still digging the Thornbuckers after 10 years as a single coil guy? They have converted me to humbuckers. Interesting that you would put it that way. So obviously having the Somnium guitar, being able to try out pickups over and over again, I was able to try the Thornbuckers and I learned something about them. They are, I used to compare them, and before even comparing them, I should say, I would compare them. I would verbally tell you guys, they remind me of a lot of the Eric Johnson DiMarzio humbuckers that, DiMarzio with a Z, DiMarzio humbuckers, because they're so low output. And the Thornbuckers, what's interesting about them is not that they're low output, because I never really tested them, so they could be higher output than I'm perceiving them. But here's what I want to tell you about Thornbuckers. Comparing them in the guitar to other pickups, what I figured out about them, the magic of them is they sound exactly like single coils. They have a very single coil tone. They just don't have any noise, and they sound like really fat single coils, but not P90s. I know a P90 is like a fat sounding single coil. That's not what the Thornbuckers sound like. It's an interestingly voiced pickup. And here's why. At first, I was like, as much as I liked that pickup, I was A-Bing it to other pickups. And every pickup, I was like, man, this Thornbuckers are thin. They're thin. And I was like, And and I told you, that's the know your gear thing. The whole thing about keep going until you really understand it, what you're playing with, right? And at first, my first reaction was, man, I used to like the Thornbuckers. Why are they so thin? Oh, every pickup I'm plugging in, man, it's just so much fatter and has bigger tone to it. And then I started going the other way because I can with the guitar. I started comparing it to single coils. And then instead of hearing a thin humbucker, I heard this amazing single coil like tone. And then when I think about Pete and the way he plays, I go, yeah, that makes sense, right? It makes sense. So yes, I'm still digging the Thornbuckers, still have them. And now that I have that experience of them, I kind of feel like I can more articulately tell you guys what I think that's the whole point of this guitar challenge. I'm not trying to get too sidetracked. The whole point of this guitar pickup thing is for me to educate myself as much as possible so that when you ask these questions, maybe I could give you some insight. What I can tell you is if you're thinking about getting some Sir Thornbuckers, they are the type of humbucker you want. If you have a trouble trying to find a humbucker that you like as much as a single coil, but don't want a single coil, that's a Thornbucker. That's what I would recommend that for. And I would also, if you're not into the Thornbucker, well, you're into them, but you get the idea. Also keep in mind there's the DiMarzio Eric Johnson set, and I think those are both comparable sets to each other. They're not going to sound exactly alike, but they're going to do the same thing. So yes, I still like them, and that's who I'd recommend them to. And I feel good about that now. Before you guys would ask me questions about pickups, and everybody seems to give advice on pickups based on nothing. Like I used to do it too. I've heard a JB and I like it, and I heard this. But now actually being able to compare pickups in real time, and the amount of cross experimenting I've done, I'm by far not saying I'm an expert of this, but man, can I really kind of help articulate now a lot of things that I couldn't really quantify before. So yeah, my knees hurt. Says, sorry, when I hear my knees hurt, I just picture like an 80-year-old person, just like my knees hurt, like not that, You get the idea. Anyways, it says Thornbuckers are expensive. Yeah, they are. But keep in mind the interesting thing about those kind of pickups for me is, although they feel like very expensive, when you think about how his guitar is like a $3,600 guitar, basically $3,000 guitar, you can get the heart and soul of that guitar and stick it in your other guitar. I tried for us. I tried for us to convince Pete Thorne when I was on a bus ride with him that he should put a set of Thornbuckers in a Mexican-made Strat and do a video. And he wasn't biting. But I told him, I go, it would be the best video you ever did. It would be great because we would be able to hear, you could compare your guitar to the Mexican Strat with your pickups, and there's no downside. Some people would think the Mexican Strat sounded as good and they'll buy your pickups. And some people are like, no, his guitar sounds better and they'll buy your guitar. I said, there's really no downside for the most part. So, I don't know. There you go. Hold on. Slim Pix says, "Are you going to film your build the whole thing?" I think you're talking about the build challenge. We talked about this before. I'm on the build challenge to do the kit guitar for Crimson Guitars. The easy answer is yes. It's not whether or not I'll film the whole thing. I film everything. None of my videos are short. None of them. My average, not even like a Sharpen My Axe video. Let's get just to the silly videos that are like 5 minutes long, like a review video that's 8 minutes. If you see an 8-minute review video, that's at least 2 hours of footage. I film all my videos the same way. I call it long form. To review, if I was to review this, this green PRS right now, what I would do is I'd turn on the camera and I would talk and go over it. And when I'm done, I look up the clock and it's been like an hour and a half of me talking. And then I do the demo, and the demoing is about another 30 minutes, right? So there's like a 2-hour video, and then I edit that down to like 6 minutes. Which is why my editing has come such a far way over the years, because at first everybody's like, man, your editing's all over the place. I'm like, well, it's chopped because I'm literally it's like I'm giving you the greatest hits of a video. I take a 2-hour video and I pick the greatest hits of it and I put it together. It's like I made a 2-hour video for people with ADD. Because I understand, and so you guys know, any of you guys new to making content on YouTube, let me tell you a little secret. It's not attention span. That's what everybody says. Oh, people have short attention spans, can't make a video long. No, it's people can't remember anything. So if I tell you 20 things about an instrument, you're only going to remember 2 or 3 things anyways. So what happens is there's a saying in sales, confuse them before you close them. In other words, you don't want to give people too much information. Then somebody comes in to buy a guitar and you tell them 6,000 things about guitars. And they're like, you gave me a lot to think about. I think I'm going to go home and think about it. And then they'll buy anything. So in sales, you learn that you have to give people exactly the information they need so they can make an informed decision and pull the trigger. When I make videos, I'm trying to do the same thing. I'm trying to give you the core of it. And that's why sometimes you're like, hey, you didn't talk about this and talk about that. I did, or maybe I missed it, but most of the time I did, and I chopped it out. And I hate that I chopped it out, but I did it because I really wanted to focus on something else. So that being said, on a build video, like when I did the beer caster, there was like 14 hours of footage. The video, the longest video I've ever edited is the Sharpen My Axe, where I had Tim from Atomic Guitars do the neck repaint, because I gave him a GoPro and a bunch of SD cards and he filmed everything. And then he handed me this, and it was, I want to say it was 12 hours of editing. It was a 6-hour day, and then, no, it was like, so a 6-hour day, a 4-hour day, and then, 2-hour day. So it was 12 hours of editing. I spent 12 hours in computer editing down that video down to 28 minutes. That was crazy. So yeah, I'll film it all and then I'll chop it up, and then what you get. The whole point of doing the Know Your Gear, if you notice, I'm building up the Know Your Gear, the second channel, is to experiment with maybe long form videos and put them out and stuff like that. We'll see. We'll see. Okay. What else? We have the next question is, It's from Grumpy Mike, and he says, and why not? I don't know. And why not? I think he means the super chat. Why not? Thank you, Mike. I appreciate the tip. The Tito says, hats off to Roy Harper. Happy 79th birthday. See, I made an 80s joke. You're 79, so you're not 80 yet, so you don't have to worry about your knees hurting yet. 79, congratulations. That's an impressive feat. It's funny, no matter how old you are or young you are, age is relative, right? I used to think 79 was old. I now think 79 is young. It's really strange to that how life changes you in that manner. So I'm impressed with somebody who's 79 years old, but I also don't. I used to look at it and like, hey, wait, that's old, but it's not. So, happy birthday. Pete Matthews says, put Thornbuckers in a Godin as good as a Sir! Exclamation point. So he's affirming it. Well, that's my whole point, right? My whole point is that a lot of the tone of the Pete Thorn guitar is the Thornbuckers. It's not everything. Like I said, I've played Pete's guitar. Everybody knows that when I did the first GitCon, I reviewed it with him, and then I took it and played it for a little while, and I played his actual guitar. I say that only just to give you a reference. Not only have I played the guitar, because I played one off the shelf, and then I played his. They played the same, by the way. It was a great guitar. It was fantastic. And like I said, one of the best guitars I've ever played in my life. Absolutely. Like I said, I want the blue one still. I keep thinking about it. It's not the price. The price is crazy. But, when it comes to certain prices, you could just ditch off some guitars and go that route. It's just, it's to me, it's not just the price factor. It's the price plus usage. I don't like the idea of spending a lot of money on a guitar I don't think I'll use. And as much as I think I'd enjoy the Pete Thorn guitar, I don't think I'd play it all the time because, again, I just kind of play a basic Strat. I think the Sir for me, if I ever go Sir, I'm going to go Sir Classic, a Strat style guitar. So, but I have, so. Just so you know is the sign-on. Just so you know. I like that sign-on. You guys are, it's everybody's sign-ons are getting normal again. No weird license plate stuff. Just so you know, it says, have you discussed the Squier Paranormal? I placed a Tornado Lake Placid on order. I just saw something about this guitar, and I need to refresh my memory. And I'll share the picture with you guys on the YouTube. Yes. No. So there's a bunch of them. There is a bunch of them. Did Ryan at 60 Cycle Hum just get one? That's probably where I saw it. I think he just got one. Did he get this blue one? I think he did. I didn't watch his video yet. I was working. But I saw it. It comes up in my feed. So I think if this is the guitar you're talking about, let me share with you guys. Screen share. And then application window. And then this thing. Da-da-da. I'm only clicking on this one because this is the one I saw Ryan talk about. And I believe that's the color. He could have had something else different because it could have been just two things I'm putting together in my head. Like I could have saw, the Paranormal guitars. And then, there's different ones it looks like. Like this one. Very cool. I dig this. Yeah, I really dig it. Like I said, I saw what a lot of you saw. I saw a couple pop up on YouTube. I don't have as much as it's weird. It's a strange but weird thing. Without a doubt, I have more Fenders than any other guitar, and I play Fenders more than any guitar. In fact, the only shirt I wear more than Know Your Gear shirts is the Fender shirts. But I don't have a really good working relationship with Fender. And what do you mean by good? I mean they're not. I'm not on their radar as a channel. Maybe because maybe they assume you guys are all Fender guys and they don't want the market. I don't know. So, but I'm like I said, I'm looking at a new Fender. Like I said, I'm looking at a new Fender right now. So, But yeah, that's a cool, interesting guitar. Very cool. I'll have to watch. I'll watch Ryan's video tonight to see if he had it, or maybe it was just on Instagram. But I know I saw it. It just seemed familiar. Dan C says, have you swapped your AZ pickups yet? I have not. I have not done it yet. So, filming videos for you guys to see coming out. Obviously, I did a Sharp Max this week. There's another Sharp Max that's coming out. There's actually 3 more because I did 4. When I do the Sharp Maxes, I kind of do them all around the same time, and then I parcel them out when I do them because they are definitely edit suckers because there's so many, like, you know, I need a closing angle and I do the stuff and a lot of times, believe it or not, like it happens on the Sharp Maxes, all of them seem to have this at least once in some scenario in all of them where when I'm editing, there's something that I don't have footage of and I have to actually take the guitar apart or do something and then show you guys again. So really strange. I'm a one-man show. So what happens is when I'm working on these and filming them, I have to use a stationary camera and I'm looking through the camera lens and I'm trying to make sure, and then sometimes I bump the camera, sometimes the camera changes focus. There's all kinds of stuff that goes on. There's a reason why no one who does any kind of repair, most of the repair shows I see on YouTube that are guitar channels usually use a stagnant fixed camera and they don't give you all the zoom ins and all the close-ups and stuff. And I really feel like a lot of times when I'm trying to show you guys something, I'm really trying to show you guys in case you're curious on how to do it. So I need to go back to that and do that. Okay, hold on a second. Oh, here's a great question, and David has a question. Says, any tips on installing new pickups in a PRS Hollow Body 2 SE, adding a coil split as well? Yes, I have a video. So here's where I'm hosed. I'm hosed. I don't know how to explain it. I don't even know why I'm using the word hosed. I have a guitar that I can't show you guys that I did the review of, and then I did a Sharp Max on. That's what I threw up all the Sharp Maxes. I had it planned. The video was coming out. Then the next week was going to be the Sharp Max of that guitar to help you guys understand. It's a hollow body mod to show you guys how you can install pickups in a hollow body with coil splitting and all the stuff. Super easy with just buying a couple parts off Amazon and making your life awesome. And I can't show you the guitar. I'm not authorized to show the guitar yet. It's not officially out. It's because of COVID. It's not even exclusive. I have like I say pile, that's exaggerating. I have like 4 things that I've had since right after NAMM. NAMM, bunch of stuff comes out of NAMM. I got my hands on it, do some videos. COVID locked me down. It's just how it's just what it is, man. So if I can't get that video out in the next week or 2, I'm going to have to figure out how to edit it and cut it in and do something to show you that thing. But yes, yes, because exactly, I know that's a question everybody has, is how do you do that? And there's 2 ways to do hollow bodies besides fishing everything out and doing it the old way, which is, and then there's a new way. And I actually stole this idea from Framus. I was in the Frames Guitar Factory and I was watching them wire a hollow body. And when I watched them wire it, I swear I was like, of course. It was like an aha moment. Why don't we all do that? Why aren't all guitars made that way? Hollow bodies makes total sense. So I don't know. I'll get it out. Somehow I'll get it done. If I can't get it out, I'll just pick a different hollow body and just do it again on another hollow body and then call it a day. All right. Sometimes the thing sucks about the live show is we talk about all the stuff that I'm gonna do or haven't done, and all it does is frustrate you and me. So I don't know what to do. All right, let's jump to some more questions, more stuff, more topics. This is Matt Wells says, "Hey Phil, probably buying an all gold Gibson Custom SG and might want to refinish it. Vintage cherry. Why? But I don't know what wood looks like underneath the finish, so am I hesitant? Advice: don't do it. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't. That's the easy answer. Don't do it. Um, you know what it is. This is never. It's not going to go. It's Luke Skywalker. This is not going to go the way you think. That's probably not the actual quote, but I like it anyways. Uh, don't do it. Um, First of all, here's why. Because the Gibson SG in gold is a unique color and it's going to have some value. Sell it, take the money, and put it towards getting a vintage cherry. Think about this: the vintage cherry SG is the most common one. It's the easiest one to get. So here's my advice, Matt. Take your unique SG, sell it, take the money, and then find some guy to trade it on Craigslist or something. Put it out there for trade. Somebody will do it. I love all those unique SGs out there, those pale and blues, and they're, oh man, the ones that Chicago Music did, the mustard yellow. I don't know the exact colors, but there's like the army green, the mustard yellow. I love that stuff. So that's what I would do. And the reason why is this: you're going to strip off all that lacquer finish. Like you said, you don't know what the wood's going to look like underneath. Well, it's going to look like mahogany, but either way, then you got to shoot the finish on it. I'm going to say, if you're going to do that, just to kind of, leave it alone. Todd says, leave it alone. Todd Flowers perfectly said, leave it alone. It's not worth it, buddy. That's what I'm saying. Don't do it. There's in 10 scenarios, like if I'm looking in the future with a magical crystal ball, there's 10 scenarios. There's only 8. No, there's 8 scenarios where you end up unhappy, and there's 2 when you end up happy. And that's from personal experience watching it be done so many times. So I would stay away from it. I understand if you're fully determined to do it, but if you're fully determined about do it, you wouldn't be asking me. So because you're asking me, I'm telling you don't do it. That's what I would tell my close friend. If they ask me, I'm telling you that like a close friend. Joseph says, Phil, what's your thoughts on the Eric Johnson Strat, and would you ever buy an artist signature Strat? Yes and yes. The Eric Johnson Strat, you know what's funny about the Eric Johnson Strat is it's my favorite artist Strat, without a doubt. And I have to admit, I constantly ask myself, what is the logic behind the fact that I have the John Mayer Silver Sky over the Eric Johnson Strat when I think the Eric Johnson Strat's a better guitar? It's kind of an interesting thing. Sometimes you have to understand, and I try, that's why I love having this live show every week. This live show is so that as a community we can talk, help me keep grounded, and help me understand you guys, help you understand me, and make content that hopefully is about gear and guitars and not about YouTube-ness. YouTube-ness happens, right? What I mean by that is some brands exist just because YouTube promotes it, right? I'm a YouTube channel. Gear is sent to me. I promote it because I'm excited about gear. The truth is, if I went to a gas station and had guitars there, I'd check out guitars. So my point to this is sometimes I wonder about the Silver Sky in that if it wasn't so promoted heavily, would I be as interested in it? The Silver Sky became interesting to me as a guitar because it was my first lesson in YouTube of what I would call the comments don't align with the sentiment. And what I mean by that is when the Silver Sky popped, it was the first product on YouTube for me. I've experienced it now 2 or 3 times, but that was the first one where everyone had such a hard line on that guitar. Like everybody was either anti that guitar. So if I brought it up, it was like, if anytime it came up, it was so like everybody was so over the top about how anti the guitar they were. And then some people were really for the guitar. And the reason why I say that was an interesting product was because what I remember about the John Mayer Strat, the Silver Sky, which there's one behind me somewhere. That's my Squier. Yeah, it's out of view, but it's right there. My point is everybody said, they hated it, and it's like one of the best-selling PRSs of all time. So it was, my point is that it was a really interesting kind of experience for me to go, okay, so why was the reaction so over the top anti a guitar, but yet so many people bought it? It was a strange experience. I hadn't seen that before. Usually when somebody when the guitar community doesn't like something, it basically doesn't do well sales-wise, right? Like the Robo-tuner guitars, right? Everybody didn't like those and they didn't sell well. Usually when the internet says, or the guitar community says they don't like something, it doesn't sell very well. The John Mayer was the exact opposite of that. And what I learned from that was not everybody who comments is, not so much they don't know what they're talking about, it's just not everybody comments is really saying what they really feel. So they're just saying things. So, Anyways, my point is to that story is I wonder sometimes if I got drawn into that too because I like the guitar so much, but is it because it was all that stuff? So that ties back to the story about the Eric Johnson Strat, which is it's an amazing guitar. It's one of those ones. Every time it comes up, I always wonder why I don't have one. I don't know why I don't have one. Like I said, it's definitely one of my favorite artist Strats from Fender for sure. It's definitely one of my favorite Strats. So there you go. And if you're thinking about getting one, I would recommend it. Okay. I saw. Hold on. Anthony says, does anyone else think the Silver Sky should only be silver? Well, mine's silver, and that's why I got it, because it's called Silver Sky. I'm not kidding. I liked all the colors, but I got silver because I was like, well, it's called the Silver Sky. Pete says, great question, or great comment, Pete. He says, I like the Silver Sky, but I would never own a signature guitar. Yeah, I understand that philosophy. Think of it, there was a time, those of us older players will know this, there was a time when no one bought signature guitars. Like, no one. Remember? Like, there was a time you wouldn't buy an Eddie Van Halen signature guitar because people would expect you to play like Eddie Van Halen, But I think what happened is signature guitars started breaking barriers, and that's how it works. And so there's things. I'll tell you what sometimes I get a little confused on with signature guitars. Sometimes I'm confused by signature guitars that are not different. Here's what I mean by that. The Petrucci guitar behind me is a signature guitar, but it's the only one like that in the Music Man catalog. Like if you want that guitar with the piezo system and, it's that guitar. I have a Nuno N4. That guitar is very unique. A little bit less now because now, Washburn has a lot of those kind of style guitars in their series, but essentially it's a unique guitar. So some of the guitars that are signature are very unique, and I think that's interesting. But yeah, it gets a little confusing sometimes when the signature guitar is a different color than another guitar or just a different pickup. That gets a little strange for me, but really, I think it's partly we just really like the artist, right? Sometimes they just like the guitar. I don't know. Hold on. Okay, hold on a second. Sean says, I want an EVH Wolfgang. When did you get your first Floyd Rose, and how hard was it to really maintain if you keep it in, say, E flats, especially? Floyd Roses are great because once you set them up, you're kind of done. So my first Floyd Rose was, my first Floyd Rose was not a Floyd Rose. My first Floyd Rose tremolo was a fake Floyd Rose, literally a fake one. That came on an Aria Pro guitar. My first guitar was a JB player, and then my second guitar, which I call my real guitar, was an Aria Pro 2, and it had a fake Floyd Rose in it. And then after that, I got the Ibanez RG770, which had their low pro tremolo, which is like a type of Floyd Rose. But I am one of the few. Definitely the few out there that doesn't have a weird Floyd Rose problem like, oh, I only play the German ones and all the other ones are junk. Look, Floyd Rose bridges to me, I kind of come across this. I've replaced 1,000 of them for customers, but me personally, I like the German ones, the Schaller ones. My Nuno N4 has a Schaller. Some of my guitars have German ones. Some of my guitars have import ones, the Korean-made ones. I never replace the bridge. I'll replace the blocks. I'll replace the trim arm. They're fine. The biggest complaint is that people say that basically the cheaper Floyd Roses, the blades on them, they wear and dent, and then the tremolo doesn't work as right. I don't know. I mean, I'll tell you, the only thing I don't like about the cheaper Floyd Roses is a lot of the parts on them don't move smoothly, right? They're a little rough and a little tight and a little weird. But I've really had very few problems setting them up as a whole for what they're going to do. I find that if you're really trying to push the Floyd Rose to the edge of what it can do, yeah, you may want to buy a nicer one. But for most players, if you just want to use it like a normal tremolo, and here's why I say that too. I think cheap Floyd Rose bridges sound and play a little better than mid-priced non-Floyd Rose bridges. In other words, so that's, I don't know. So that's my opinion on that. The only problem about Floyd Rose, which is why I made the How to Live with Your Floyd Rose When You Don't Like It video, is a lot of players don't want to put the time into it. Floyd Rose is about time. You put a little time into learning how it works. It makes a lot of sense once you figure it out. It's a very easy bridge. Most players, once they get in tune with it, can set it up pretty reasonably fast. There's a couple tricks you learn that will help you, and that's it. But some players, as you can imagine, don't have the desire for the learning curve of that. So, Matt Will says, "Hey, just wanted to let you know you convinced me the SG stays gold. LOL. Awesome. See, good. I'm glad it worked out." Let's see. What else do we got? Let's do. Hold on a second. Let me do one last question. I always say that, and then we do 5. Okay. Hold on one second. I know I'm just reading through some stuff, guys. See if there's anything I missed. A lot of you guys keep, when we're talking about signature guitars, a lot of you guys bring up Les Paul. Les Paul guitars is a strange thing because it's not so much a signature guitar as it is a signature. There's a lot of tricks on that. When I did a lot of research, when I did the 5 things you don't know about the Les Paul video, there's a lot of terminology used in the industry. I think for the most part, I agree with most of you guys that it's a signature guitar. Technically, there's like some weird verbiage where it's like, well, it's not really a signature guitar. It's more of like a license deal or something like that. In the idea that he didn't play it all the time. I get what you guys are saying. I think it's, to me, there's a lot of times where I don't want to like kind of say, I know what the reality of something is, but I think what we're talking about is the vibe. When you think of an Eddie Van Halen guitar, you think of Eddie Van Halen. When you think of a Les Paul guitar, for some reason, you don't even think of Les Paul anymore. It's like Paul Reed Smith. When you think of Paul Reed Smith, you don't think, look, Paul Reed Smith, the builder, Paul himself, is an artist. He plays in a band. We don't really think of a Paul Reed Smith as a artist guitar. We think of his guitar as creation. So I'm not saying it's the same as Les Paul. What I'm saying is that it's how we think of it. Generally speaking, most players don't see Les Pauls as Les Pauls. And I think that's the argument why signature guitars will eventually might change. Because when you think of Les Pauls, you start thinking of, instead of Les Paul himself, you start thinking of Slash. You think of, Joe Perry. You think of Peter Frampton. You start thinking of artists that use Les Pauls. So it's an interesting thing like that. What's funny is like I said, I was mentioning earlier, when you think of Wolfgang guitars, you know what I mean, and like the Access by Music Man, I think of Bowling for Soup. You know what I mean? There's artists that use the guitars now. In fact, the first time I ever saw a PV Wolfgang on stage was with Neil Zaza. He was playing it with his trio, Snap Crackle Pop, with Bill Dickens and Bob Rock. I might be saying, I thought it was Bob Rock. Could be Bobby Rock. I hope I'm saying it right. I'm trying to remember the drummer's name. But and they were fantastic. And he was playing a Wolfgang, a PV Wolfgang. And so I mean, it was weird, and that was a weird experience because I was like, wow, he's playing Eddie Van Halen's guitar. So I understand what you guys are saying. It's interesting. But I don't think most of us see it as the same. I think we see the Les Paul as less of an actual connected to Les Paul himself as an artist's signature instrument. But a lot of you guys could probably Google it. You could Google it, and it explains why technically some say it's not a signature guitar and some say it is. And again, sometimes that stuff just makes your head hurt trying to figure that stuff out. I think I want to talk more about why we perceive what we see, not the Yeah, Nico says, I think Slash when you mention Les Paul. I think Slash too. It's just because it's going to be the person you connect with it. I connect a Les Paul to Slash. To me, it's like he, Slash is more than just a guitar player. He's an iconic image. Obviously, he's that top hat, that hair, his bent leg out that way, holding the Les Paul. You know what I mean? It's just kind of a look. So the Smelly Cats Jazz. Hey, what's up? It says, I want to get a nitro free on my Ibanez S771 PB. I don't feel safe spraying it. What are some alternatives to get that feel? I should just go with the Iron Axion. I would go with the Iron Axion. I love those guitars. In fact, that's what I was thinking about trying to get a review of next. Mr. Bill in Chair says, which PRS 594 did you keep? I ended up keeping the S2. I did not keep the core. The core I sold. So the 594 S2 really let me realize that I love the pickups in the core, but not the core. And the reason why is the core was a great guitar. It was just heavy. Mine was a heavier guitar. And the S2 really made me really focus on that because I really like the weight of the S2. It was the perfect weight for me. But like I said, I really like my Mira. It's just, again. All right. Hold on. I'm just reading some comments. Okay. On that note, I'm just... Okay, so Mr. Bill and Chair says... Bill and Char says, what pickups would you put in the S2 594? I'd put the 5708s. If that's the closest you're going to get to that guitar sounding like the core. They're not the same pickups as what's in the 594 core, but they're close. So that's what I would recommend. A lot of you guys asked that if I would, take the S2 594 and put 5708s in it. I thought about that. I have that ability, so you guys know. I could do that video. It's just I gotta crunch the how much people want to see it. That's the trick. But so I could do the video right now. I could take the 594 S2 that I have. I could record it, get the audio off those original pickups, yank the pickups, and put 5708 PRSs in there because I have a set of those, and then A/B the sounds and see if it makes a huge difference. I already know the answer, but I think it would help quantify it for a lot of you out there. And then what we talked about, you could buy the 594 S2 and those pickups, even though those pickups are very expensive, you could buy it for a fraction of what it would still be, almost half of what the core is. That's the way to go. Yeah, you'll have to let me know if that's something you guys are interested in. It's one of those things, like, I don't know. I'd be interested in doing it if people want to see it. I don't think I'll get a lot of views, but I don't think that matters. I think it's just more of a, if the community's interested in the video, I have the ability to do it. I'm trying to do stuff. Some of the stuff you guys asked me to do, I have no way to do it. And some stuff I have absolutely every way to do it. So it doesn't make sense not to. That's something I can get my hands on. I have all that stuff. I can just do the video. It's just the time and editing and filming, and it's not, gonna make videos anyways. So, okay, David says, and that's how we'll end the day. David asks, he says, will you try any Lundgren pickups? Yeah, eventually. The whole point of doing the pickup videos is to try as many pickups as possible and check them out. Obviously, I bought a bunch of pickups, and I did a lot of videos with those. I tried to reach out and get pickup companies involved. Obviously, it would be, kind of easier if some of the pickups were coming in, so I not all out of pocket. And I had very little interest in that. I believe I just saw it yesterday or just the other day. I saw that Fishman reached out and said that they liked the video and they'd be interested in doing another video and sending me pickups because I bought the last Fishmans and did that video. And You know, and a lot of the pickups are easy because I can buy them used. So that's what I did in a couple of videos. I bought the pickups used. I did the video and then I sold the pickups. The Fishman pickups, I bought them new and then I sold them. So I took a loss on them, but you know, I made money on the video and then it kind of balanced out a little bit. I mean, balanced out as long as I don't factor in work. You know, you make $100, spend 12 hours, yeah, it totally works out. But it doesn't matter. It's not always about that, right? It's like I said, that's what's great about this gig is sometimes, you know, it's the support from you guys make this kind of, you know, like I said, I say it all the time, makes this totally where I want to lean always to as much as I can do to the stuff that we're all interested in because you guys are supporting this thing. You guys are definitely the biggest supporters I have is the community at large. My patrons, you guys buying the merch, by all means, literally out supporting every other factor I have when it comes to the YouTube channel. And so I try to focus on that as much as I can. So on that note, you know what? Well, Mr. Iron Bodybuilding. Okay, so you're obviously, you might be new to the channel. You put, why did you skip my question 3 times? Ask 3 times. Don't put that I skipped your question. Always just keep repeating the question until I see it. There's 560 of you guys putting, you know, here, and I don't know how many questions are popping through, but more than I can possibly find. So I try to get to the ones I see. You know what I mean? But it's just, it's tough. It's tough. But I hope it was fun. I hope you guys had a good time. I hope you guys are ready for the weekend. I hope you guys have fun this weekend. Play some guitar as always. I have a video. Hopefully it'll go out tomorrow. I'll talk about it right now. I'll give you guys a little headset or a little heads up on it. On this cool pedal. This is something different that I haven't done before. Sweetwater sent me an Alien. They're sending out to YouTubers. They're sending out pedals to promote Analog Alien, and they asked me if I would be interested. And this thing was so strange. I was like, yeah, let's do that one. And so I made this little rig. For a video to show you guys not only what this is, but why you might want something either this or something like this. So that video. I was going to put it out today early, and then I changed my mind. It's going to go out tomorrow. So look for that. Help if you guys are interested in that. This little heads up on that. Thought that'd be fun. And as always, I want to thank you guys so much for hanging out every Friday doing this. This is fun. And I'll see you guys next Friday. And keep in mind, there'll also be a bonus podcast this week. So if you follow the podcast and you listen to the podcast, check it out. It should be out on Wednesday. Again, it only goes on iTunes and stuff like that. Sometimes I'll release the video on the Know Your Gear channel, and I'll put a link to that if I'm doing that as well. Hey, Michael Nelson's here, by the way. Hey, make sure always check out Harry Guitars, Big Harry Guitars. So, as always. All right, guys, thank you so much. Until next week, know your gear.